Alright gamers, today we've got the tragic burnout of the Pokemon Rumble series with Pokemon Rumble World. As here we've got as deep of a dive into this puddle of a game to see where everything went wrong, despite how painfully obvious the reasons may be, as this game manages to be the proper step up no matter how many inches that requires moving, while simultaneously falling down the staircase, ultimately crashing out with what may as well be the end of the Pokemon Rumble series. Through merits that the gameplay itself tries its best to fight through improvement. Yes gamers, the story of how simple monetization completely neutered a game to complete and utter unplayability, and the pseudo-redemption arc that's main hindrance is the simple flashbacks to your part-time job LARPing as a video game. Alright, let's pull the band-aid off. We're done edging here. Let's find out how it all went right, yet so wrong. Also, just a disclaimer, we got emulation issues in this one, so just disregard the meat outlines, please. Okay, thanks. When we break open into the basic gameplay mechanics, not much has actually changed from previous titles, being very in line with the first game in Rumble Blast. Basically, this means the core gameplay is still the most bare-bones nonsense you know and love, with your mons, potential abilities, and the goal of reaching the ends of stages, hopefully getting money and new partners along the way while taking down a boss. As for what's new here, it's surprisingly a little. Mega Evolution ends up as the most noteworthy change for incredibly obvious reasons, only really supplying a small power boost and a form change for your troubles, activatable whenever, without any real drawbacks, meaning you can spam the ever-living hell out of it, with the only real drawback, if any, since the animation is pretty fast, just being the primals automatically activating upon switching, just leaving the idea of saving the Mega for its blast radius to not be an option, which on average leaves the elephant in the room to be pretty underwhelming, with the stones obtained through a rant that's gonna need to be saved for later. Just let the microtransactions as a concept cast a shadow on us for now. Piggybacking that mess is actually the reworks to dying. So instead of having a simple supply of lives for each stage you run, this time revival is entirely monetized, meaning you only have one life if you're trying to run the game as free to play as possible. And yes, you're gonna want to. Any other lives, which you can buy a lot more of, will end up costing you greatly. Leaving the hellscape of monetization, we have a note of the most niche aspect of the entire game, as instead of normal abilities simply existing as traits and still existing as a means to make your Pokemon do more than the standard, we get a very small lineup of 5 where each just has their own unique quality that is completely invisible unless they simply activate, either helping the Mon get a massive edge over the competition, or just to ensure Regigigas is completely and utterly painful to use. And finally, I hate that we're already at the end of the gameplay alternatives already, we have the introduction of Mii's in gameplay, potentially playing a part in a small rescue mid-stage, where regardless of that step, they join you in your mission in the stage, just trailing behind you with their own HP bar, all to simply help you with item support and not too much else to note. Although for 90% of gameplay, Mii's hardly exist, so they're hardly worth mentioning. So gamers, that's what our main gameplay changes to the core loop of playing through normal stages provides. Luckily, we have the mission stages to run through to stop the content well from running dry so soon. While we'll see them more in depth later, the need to battle every foe against a timer to progress the stage shakes things up quite a bit in these stages, especially whenever Mii serve as defend objectives for extra stakes. While the stage props do next to nothing outside of looking neat, the traps and hazards thankfully give us a bit more, whether it's spawners or damage dealers. Quick thinking is encouraged, leading to better gameplay during these sections. Although finally gamers, the controversial rock slide begins, and the game's freemium aspects begin to trickle down to damage or potential, as simple access to regular stages got absolutely gutted. Okay, get this. We're long past the days of simple stage select screens or crawling around in overworld areas to reach stages. No, we don't need any of that. But we've got our stages all paywalled behind premium currency. And to make matters worse, you can only run the area once, and then you gotta sit through real life time, patiently waiting for the timer to go down as your gray hairs begin to set in. Look, waiting real time for lots of stuff in games is completely miserable, even if it adds immersion to some games, which it doesn't do here. And typically, and in this case, it ends up turning these games into part-time jobs. But we can't even stop there, because get this, again, as the waiting itself is hardly the full story, because getting into a stage is dreadful. Every stage has 3 different rarities, some with 4. The catch is, which stage you get in is denoted with stars, each star changing the Pokemon lineup a little, primarily the bosses. The system determining the stage rarity is beyond obscure without many shreds of reliability. Beaver events lucking their way onto your lap are also hardly reliable through potentially just skipping stages, and that's ignoring them just being rare events in general. Otherwise, you just gotta run maps and hope for the best. But get this, again, you don't just pick a stage, you pick a balloon balloon that then spins a wheel and picks a stage for you, and of course the timing doesn't even matter. So there's luck on top of the luck, on top of the luck, on top of real life downtime. Yep, it's just a downward spiral of luck and time that makes getting an ideal stage with an ideal mon simply beyond frustrating through the potential cycle of getting railed by luck, constantly taking it in all directions. But wait a second, mister, that's not all. You've yet to mention the ability to speed up the balloon wait down times, and the ability to slow down the wheel to force results. Yes, while great, whenever a desired stage does appear, there's a grave cost required to use either of these features, that being diamonds. Ugh. Yes, we begin the playthrough and progression section talking about premium currency. That's how you know it's so over. Okay, so first, the part that's free. The ranking system, since it's our gateway drug to all of our issues. Essentially being our main piece of progression, our leveling system exists as the main tool in which to raise the power level of all the mons in the main world for you to get in battle against. And in a progression sense, every level up opens up new buyables in the shop. The most important ones being the balloons, since of course they allow you a significantly larger of mons to get, mons that, yeah, a few are shared between areas, devaluing the balloons they touch, but most of the value comes to exclusivity, with the encounters provided across the game's 719 Pokemon. These balloons, being as valuable as they are, cost diamonds. These are very important play spaces that are integral to the game's progression, as they are 100% needed in order to rank up and get higher powered mons to progress the game's story missions you'd otherwise be incapable of keeping up with. The costs needed aren't all the same, actually scaling per batch, making them very pricey and again super desirable. This finally brings us to diamonds, which brings the game to its knees between an actually playable experience and a demo being advertised as a full game. Because if you weren't born during the 3DS era, you might have actually forgotten this game didn't actually release as a physical product, but download only for quite a time. For free, as a free to start experience built on microtransactions to simply buy diamonds. Something that only functions properly if the 3DS eShop, now defunct, actually operates. Only potentially made worse if the 3DS internet ever died off. It did, massively hindering the supply of renewable diamonds. Oh yes, gamers. Being unable to pay for diamonds is one thing, but not being able to use Spot Pass or even regular Wi-Fi shenanigans means you can only ever get diamonds infinitely from a single source. That simply being Street Pass needing 5 people to even guarantee a single diamond, only hindered by you either having no friends nor other devices with the game to slowly chip away at getting more, leaving most people stuck to just the game's very limited supply of diamonds that'll be in very high demand, preventing you from ever playing all the game's content. No full story run, no access to all the balloons. Hell, you only be able to unlock Megastones, or just be able to sit down and be like, yeah, I want to use a continue. It's just a little taste, and you just have to deal with it. So that, ladies and gentlemen, leaves us without a game. But if you recall our history lesson, I mentioned the game being download only for quite a time. That's because it did eventually get a physical release that course corrected our biggest problem, as the microtransactions are taken out back and put down, given to you basically run out the gates, with the reward for normally buying them completely free, as the diamond drill is a daily renewable resource for diamonds with no strings attached. That, because you can't buy any gems in the other version, will be forever locked out of your grasp, you know, unless you bought all the diamonds before the servers went out. However, this small loan of 3,000 diamonds and even more down the line doesn't stop there, as extra buyables discount the cost of the slowdown timer and the balloon refills, meaning you can cut out on so much downtime, and the balloon refills specifically take way less diamonds, and this surprisingly almost fixes the game entirely. This makes getting all of the balloons and a carry through the game's main content completely plausible, almost like playing a game you paid for and being able to degen it out in 2 to 3 days, as if it's literally any other previous Pokemon Rumble game. As in this version, you can essentially spam gem after gem and ignore wait times almost entirely, since your supply isn't just limited to the shop rewards and story rewards. Essentially, you're only blowing 1 diamond to run a stage, 2 if you need to hand pick one. Although for playing through the game, the lucky balloon once unlocked will likely be your only destination of interest, warping how you'll play the late game much further, saving you a diamond every single time you need to run a stage, specifically for completion's sake. Seen as the example for the playthrough I used in the footage, despite buying a bunch of unnecessary stuff, like the wobbly tree upgrades, I still had 1k diamonds to spare by the end of the main game, and after recruiting them all. With that noted, obviously the entire shop lineup won't be viable off rip. That will still demand you more time than what you end up getting for free. But hell, dude, you have the drill. That's free diamonds daily for logging in. Always, no internet, no purchase, no street pass required. And the most important part, if you actually wanted to start from a fresh save file, you can actually do that without forever throwing away progress that you could never get back. Now, gamers, you see, we have a very strong divide between the two versions of the game that make it far more of a headache than it probably should be. The download-only version where you gotta hope you've made all the purchases already, or the cartridge version that, due to its diamond economy, feels like a normal functioning product. Both of which just make this game obnoxious to talk about. Where now, congrats. We've just got the playthrough left and things are pretty simple. Essentially, we just have these tucked away in the castle as a simple stage selection screen, as you've got your main goal and several side objectives to work through in each mission. And it means that's basically just a copy and paste of the mission styles from Rumble U. The difference here is the fact that you can only ever take a new mission on a once per day basis as some kind of pairing to the weights the balloons already require of you. So it doesn't end up being too big of a deal. Well, that would be the case if certain features weren't locked behind progression. Thankfully, the weight can be skipped entirely should your rank be at whatever the specified number for each mission is, at least helping pace out not only your mon's power levels in contrast to these maps, but at least making the idea of bum rushing them all at your earliest convenience a possible play too. Where playing the new maps can take time, replaying the old ones can be done whenever you feel, alongside a bonus hard mode in case that tickles your fancy. But yeah, gamers, that's the playthrough. Just a mad dash to gather as many different Pokemon as possible while hoping to progress the main maps at a solid pace, or as solid as your diamond supply will allow, where the cartridge allows all forms of content to be within reach. The larger group of players are really at the mercy of the non-existent content their possible lineup of diamonds will grant them. Like, hell yeah, dude, I can't wait to never spend them and still never get to know what the hell a Jirachi even is. And oh boy, we've finally gotten to the features and the very straightforward lineup that makes it up. The first thing to note is, for some reason, tucked away in the menus hub with Pokemon. Oddly, this is where your menu option is in order to release your Pokemon from your very limited supply. It ends up being useful when you inevitably hit the cap, but is important just to get rid of all the junk you don't need. Who cares? The only thing to note is the fact it's in a menu for some reason now. For actual features now, we get to look back at the shop since this is where you buy so damn much. From the integral balloons, to the free story gifts, to the many customization items, and last but importantly, a wide variety of boosts to your mon supply, the damage output, movement speed, or whatever. Where diamonds are wanted in lots of places, coins are similarly the same, where the demand of either really just depends on an item by item basis, again, unless it's a balloon, which always wants the premium currency. In general though, you'll be coming here all the damn time because this place has got you stuck in a metaphorical bear trap. Once again, we see the return of the move tutor in probably its best incarnation, as you of course have a free option to flip the button placement of your attacks, but obviously reworked we have is the move teaching, now allowing you to teach any specified attack of your choice to your mons, completely free of RNG. Well, technically you still need to get the attack at least once for it to show in the moves list at all, but you know what I mean. The prices end up varying, maybe as trivial as coins or mildly taxing as a few diamonds. But regardless, you're not gambling for new attacks, which is a massive win overall. As for our next feature, it's the most self-explanatory one possible. With the Megastone store, you buy Megastones for your mons for a few diamonds. There's only one minor thing to note here, and that being Mewtwo and Charizard, with their ability to simply swap their stones for free should they already have one. Similarly, in simplicity, the Fountain eats a diamond for every Pokemon with the Rusty trait you bring to it. In exchange, you get gifted with a functional moveset, and importantly, access to guaranteed blue traits, stacking together many regular traits as a bit of a payoff. Well, if it's even a desirable species of Pokemon to begin with. Like, why the hell would you waste a diamond on a Bonsly? Come on now. Up next is the drill, which we've already discussed. If you've forgotten, that means I hope you've actually made progress on your college work. If not, then quit slacking off. Pivoting further into our menu features, we return to passwords. Hidden in the pause menu, we have the scavenger hunt for random passcodes on the internet to cash out for free mods. That'll at least be useful for progression, if anything, since their lacking power levels aren't really helping. Next up, we've got the inviting Mii's menu, where two of the options here, as mentioned prior, just don't do anything anymore, but the one that still does function at least allows you to invite Mii's to your game to take advantage of them in gameplay, potentially getting diamonds, and most importantly, extra stage access that bypasses balloons, potentially allowing you to repeat dungeons as well. The one cool but unfortunate note offered in this manner is the shop purchase allowing you to recast the generic Mii's in the game. While a great addition, the implementation isn't great as it requires interacting with others. Again, people you don't know and don't have functional internet to attempt to. Yes, I too wanted Sans to be the Dark Lord, but alas, your own 3DS Mii's aren't available unless it's specifically for the main pro tag, and And while Peter Griffin's crack adventure would be fun, injecting a me of myself to pretend to have an ego couldn't be topped as a bit. Which finally leaves us with the profile, where you can customize your profile card through your me, outfits, which with an upgrade can be mixed and matched, your partner Pokemon, up to 3 of them, messages, their stance, alongside the background, and a foreground to share with others, alongside a peek into your stats. Also found here is the collections page, essentially being a big checklist of various goals. Important mainly for grabbing every single mod in the game, particularly the forms, as tracking them isn't really plausible otherwise. Important to note for my biggest nitpick, as for some unholy reason in the series we're having a character collection index page, you know, a Pokédex, was standard, very noteworthy to mention in a game where collecting Pokemon is the progression. It was just left out entirely. Well, that makes sense given that this is the game that couldn't even have a proper title screen. Well, that's it for features. Yeah, I don't really have a way to neatly tie up this section with a bow. So, hard cut to the art style section. Wow, the art style is so cute and charming with the toy style. This time with Mii's properly among the world. Whatever, it's still a positive. The music is more of the same, just loads of tracks from returning games with a couple of new and good for a positive time. There's really nothing to say here, it's just the Pokemon Rumble standard. The story, if you can even call it one, is the most simple nothing burger ever crafted. Essentially, your Mii shows up in the kingdom of Pokemon to be the king's main man. He wants you to shut the Dark Magician as the world's pettiest braggart, as the first of many requests where only half of them are roughly connected, only really culminating in the Dark Magician becoming an emperor and waging war on the kingdom alongside hypnotizing random people as a collateral crime or something. Man, who even cares? You beat the fiend and the plot is done, the end. And at the end, Pokemon Rumble World hurts. At its best, it's really just offering the best gameplay mechanics for the sub-series with a lot of variants as far as mons go. There is fun to be had. At its worst, however, it's quite literally an uncompletable game, being the biggest victim of the eShop and 3DS Wi-Fi being used as toilet paper, while getting the actual download of the game was quite literally made impossible. Even if you do get in, you're plagued with a limited premium currency that's almost completely mandatory to enjoy the game, on top of the part-time job the game will be should you be unable to skip the luck and time factors. Even when the game's physical version can essentially fix the issues of the free-to-play version, they still linger and stink up every aspect of the game, which really sucks as this very easily could be and probably is the best Pokemon Rumble game despite that. It has the foundation, but you have to juggle all this nonsense just to keep it that way. Anyways, let's tally up our reviews today. Obviously, looking specifically at the physical version, for our score from 1 to 5, the game ends up with a mid to low 3. Again, when you can sit here gemming, it's a normal experience that rivals Rumble Blast directly as a full experience. Although when you take your time with it, well, you're taking your time with it, you're never finishing the damn game. Let's be real. For the question of should you play it, maybe. Based on the existence of the microtransaction pieces being integral to the game's functionality, it's pretty off-putting even when you start out with 3K of them. And it's especially off-putting if you even dare think about resetting the download-only save file. It'll be physically impossible to make more progress than you had before. And for my personal recommendation, yes, on the condition that you actually have extra saves to bring in with Street Pass, so you can at least properly enjoy the game with custom characters. That charm will do all the heavy lifting that you could ever ask for. Or, you know, just play Miitopia instead and skip out on the necessity in the first place. Actually, I like that recommendation a lot more. Do that one. Gamers, thank you for watching, as always. And until next time, we'll be back with the Pokemon Rumble Rush review. Oh wait, I forgot. This game, being an in-app purchase hell, sent the series to its deathbed, to be followed up by a mobile game so damn terrible that it removes any joy in stages as they've been unnecessarily simplified, alongside more real-life part-time job nonsense that leads the game to having zero shreds of fun. The gameplay was so bad that it actively killed the series, as it barely survived a year before being canned. And as a result, this series is never coming back. Bad, 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 die!